I literally wrote out everything that's going on. He said, I don't believe reapplying was the right thing to do, rather appealing was. The problem with the Ticket to Work program is that if you earn more than the max in a single month, you lose eligibility and they will claim overpayments for all benefits paid after. You need a local Social Security lawyer. These matters are handled regionally and I don't handle them outside. I've had other clients get in this situation previously, and generally the trip to the Social Security office takes care of it. I've not had to get involved in one like this before. You just need to find somebody with a half of a brain. Unfortunately, they can be hard to find. Sorry I can't be of more help. This is a systematic problem. And the people who work at Social Security and give bad advice are immune from liability. I generally find they are good people who want to help, but it's a bureaucratic mess and takes someone who knows how to navigate it. The reality of the situation. So, my story that I want to share with you guys is a huge problem, and I know that I am not the only person who has been in the situation that I'm currently in. I am a paraplegic. Most of you that follow me know who I am and know that I was injured because of domestic violence 16 years ago. And it has been quite the adventure over the last 16 years. One of the biggest things I'm always talking about the positive aspects of my life, and very rarely do I get into my private life, and I very rarely speak about the negatives. And one of the negatives since I've been paralyzed has been finances, and not because I'm not willing or able to work, actually quite the opposite. I'm somebody who does not want to be in the system whatsoever. I don't want to have to collect disability benefits or Social Security benefits or have food stamps and just live. I want to be able to have a career and change people's lives through sharing my story, and hence how I became a speaker and advocate and mentor. I received Social Security and SSI for many, many years as I wasn't able to leave the house to work because I couldn't afford a vehicle, and I was given the runaround over and over again that it was going to cost a lot of money and have a lot of training and so forth to be able to get my license. So because I didn't have the means to be able to do those things, I started being creative and thinking outside of the box and finding ways to financially support myself, to start building a career to where I could get out of the system and not have to report constantly to the government all of my personal information and especially my finances. So I slowly started learning how to build websites and MySpace pages. This is forever ago. And also started being an advocate, hence how I became Miss Wheelchair North Carolina and then later Miss Wheelchair America. And that's really what threw me into my career path that I'm in now. About 5 years after becoming Miss Wheelchair America, I actually was brought on as a contractor to the New York Auto Show, and that's where the MV1 was born. Most of you are familiar with the MV1 that have followed me. So in 2015, I was brought on as a corporate employee of MV1. I was no longer just a contractor, and I started making more money. So I reported to Social Security, as I was advised to do, if I started working and bringing in income. And probably within 2 months, I stopped getting my SSI, which I was pretty positive was going to happen, even though I wasn't as educated on the system and how it worked. I knew that I didn't need that extra income because I was working. But they continued to deposit my Social Security into my bank account. So I just assumed that meant that I was fine. I never received anything in the mail, any letters saying that it wasn't okay. And I continued to work for MV1. Well, last year, in June of 2017, Mobility Ventures, the makers of the MV1, the company went out of business, and I, along with all of my fellow employees, was laid off. It was a huge, huge financial cut for me. Also that same month, I found out that I was no longer going to be receiving Social Security benefits. Why, you might ask? Well, because the government deemed that I was no longer disabled because I had worked, even though I had did what I was supposed to do and I reported my income. They took that last little piece of income from me. And since then, since July of 2017, it's now April 2018, I have not received one disability payment. For about 3 months after I lost my job, I found some contract work and I had some income coming in, but then that actually ran out and I was back to square one again, where I had zero income, which is still where I'm at right now. I have reached out to Social Security. The first thing I did was I drove myself to my local Social Security office so they could physically see me. And I brought my letters and documentations and I shared with them my story and what was happening. And the guy kind of laughed and he said, well, obviously somebody's made a huge mistake, because I can physically see you and I can see that you are indeed still a paraplegic. So he told me that I was going to have to appeal the decision. So I filled out all my paperwork that I was supposed to do, got all of the medical documentation that I needed, proving that I indeed was still a paraplegic, that I have not been healed. And I shortly after, probably 3 months after, I received a letter from Social Security saying that they had indeed deemed me to still be fully disabled, and that I was not allowed to make more than $808 a month. Now I'm going to stop right there, because I cannot afford, with a mortgage and children and bills and a vehicle and car insurance and all of the other things that we need to be able to survive. Now you guys, I have to tell you, I am not somebody that lives beyond my means whatsoever. Actually quite the opposite. I think I put more out than I actually can afford sometimes, just to be able to push my advocacy and to be able to make a difference in other people's lives who listen to my story. I've never had credit cards, anything like that. So when I say my bills, I literally mean my mortgage, my utility bills, my car insurance, because I don't have a car payment. Thank you, God, that I don't have a car payment. And then my medical supplies. So I have to have catheters and all the other things that go along with a spinal cord injury. I now am in a place where I no longer have any money whatsoever. I have drained all of my savings. About a month ago, I actually did a GoFundMe and I made a video talking about kind of the same thing, except for I didn't go into much detail. But I did say the reason I was doing the GoFundMe was to be able to go work with a coach to help get my book published, so that I could start generating income and really boost my career in speaking and have something to give my audience to take away. I knew that that would really boost my career. I ended up raising a little over $5,000, which was just enough for the deposit for this program. I found out through the interviews of the program that if I put that $5,000 deposit down, but didn't come up with the other $10,000, that I would lose that $5,000. So I made a decision at the last minute not to go through with the program, because I had already spent 3 weeks raising a little over $5,000 and the donations kind of stopped coming in, and I didn't want to put myself in a position where I lost $5,000 that I really, really needed because I was so far behind financially. So I used that money that was raised, and thank you to everybody from the bottom of my heart that donated anything or even shared the post for me. I appreciate you so much. That actually bought me a little over another month of being able to be in my house before any kind of foreclosure proceedings start. But here I am today, and I am at a critical point. I actually needed $1,500 by Monday, and my bank account is negative. I actually have even sent one of my daughters to Arizona to be with her father because I can no longer afford to feed us. So it has gotten very dire. The reason that I'm doing this video, guys, is not to ask for handouts, it's not to ask for money, it's to get people involved to make change. Because I know that being this transparent, more people hopefully will start to share their stories that are very similar so that we can make change for everyone. I have been in touch with a couple politicians locally who have advised me that this is going to be a long road and a hard fight because Social Security is such a hot topic for people who are disabled. I truly believe that the system is set up to keep us in it. And for people like me who are disabled but want to work and want to financially support their family on their own and not have to use any kind of government handouts or government money or have to do GoFundMes to pay off their financial burdens, I'm hoping that this is going to empower everybody to use their voices and to come together with myself. And I actually have a friend who's also an advocate, Shannon Chisholm, who is also going to be helping me with this campaign to be able to get our voices heard. None of us asked to either be born with a disability or acquired a disability. I know I didn't ask for this to happen to me. My children also didn't ask for this life. And I believe that it's my right to be able to work. And I don't think that it is okay for the government to tell me how much I'm allowed to make or how much I'm allowed to work. How can I get out of the system if they can't help me get out? So what I mean by that is, how can I get out of the system when it's set up to keep me under a certain income level to be able to get the benefits that I am entitled to, that I paid into the system for? So if I go out today and go get a job, let's say even at my local grocery store across the street, I would make too much money to be able to work full time and be able to get myself financially ahead of the game and further my career and actually make a life that's independently, financially free for me and my children. So we need change, guys. We need everybody to come together. We need awareness. We need for people to share their stories and get the word out so that we can maybe start a petition and then eventually get a bill passed to where we can have some change for this. Another thing that I also know that I kind of want to put out there, I have a brother who is autistic, who is nonverbal, and he also would like to work. For him, it's more of a routine thing to be able to have structure. But the amount that they pay him is at least twice below minimum wage because he's disabled and because he cognitively has some delays. So again, we people in the disability community are an afterthought. We need to change that. So let's come together. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video.